Hi, and welcome back to WizNugs. Today we're talking about happiness. If we've defined happiness as some future state, some destination that we're working toward, and we can only feel good about ourselves once we've gotten to that end, then the entire process and the whole journey is just going to be a slog to get to that future state. We're talking today about how to have joy in that journey and how to change up our mindset so that we can have contentment at every step along the way.
So talking about this, it makes me think of for the example I'll give is like the person who wants to lose weight or go to the gym. If the goal is, I can only be happy once I lose 50 pounds. The rest of the time is going to be me being miserable and being horribly, or have horrible, terrible feelings about myself or the process. Like, oh, I have to cut all this out and I love that and I can't have this anymore. So I'm going to only have the things they say I can have, and I'm going to hate it because I can't put what I want on it. And now I got to go to the gym and I got to deal with people.
And if you do have that, let's say pizza, for example, you do buckle because you want to have that pizza and you want to enjoy it, then you load yourself up with guilt and shame for having a moment of enjoyment. Then you start to correlate enjoyment and shame. And then that just builds a completely broken psychology that's so sad.
And it even gets to the point in some cases, well, now that I've broken this regimen that I put into place, I can't do it anymore. It means I have to start over from day one. And I don't want to do that. I'm already 20-some days in of my 90-day process. And I don't want to start back at day one. So I'm done. That's it. I give up. And then now you're really miserable.
Or I'll start over January 1st.
Yes. The infamous day for starting things.
It's February 28th, and we're like, all right, January 1st, I got 10 months off. I'm not going to worry about it.
So the key, I think, is trying to find contentment, satisfaction in the process itself. So be happy that you have started a process or a plan to achieve a different level of existence, for lack of a better term, where you're going to feel better about yourself. But you can feel better about yourself in the now because you're doing something to get you to that process. It doesn't make it easy, but it's change, and it's positive change. And isn't that something to celebrate?
Right. I heard a story that put it this way. If you're a little kid and your parents are taking you to Disneyland, but you got to drive. It's a 10-hour drive to get to Disneyland.
Right.
So the one way of thinking about it is, I'll be happy when I get to Disneyland. And everything else is, are we there yet? This is stupid. I hate that. And all of the cliche things that kids say on car trips.
Yeah.
And you can't really enjoy yourself until you get to Disneyland. But in the meantime, the necessary ride to get there is going to be just awful. Or you can say, we're going to Disneyland and we're going to enjoy our car trip on the way there. Here's what we're going to do. And there's all the different car games that you can play and all the other little things of like, hey, there's a point of interest off the road this way. Should we stop for an hour and check it out? Sure, let's do it. Because we're enjoying the trip and not just, well, let's make time to get there as fast as possible because we can't be happy until we get to the end.
It makes me think of the National Lampoon's Vacation, the very first one.
Wally World.
At Wally World, right? And it was the entirety of the trip, in my opinion, based off, and it was designed this way, obviously, was the adventure to get to Wally World, right? And then Wally World in itself was about this much of the movie. And in reality, if you do a comparison to reality, if you're making a trip to Disneyland, the Disneyland event itself is this much of the trip. It really is. Now, it might be the destination, but man, all the cool stuff that you get to do along the way, and I will say that this might be something that I've come to appreciate with age.
Sure.
Maybe I wasn't as appreciative of it as a younger person, but then again, I never went to Disneyland as a younger person. But being able to see things and go places and do things you never done before, and to experience it hopefully with family or friends or loved ones, and then being able to have that experience, and then the cherry on top is the actual, we got to Disneyland, we did the things, we stood in line for an hour and a half for one ride, whatever that is. And you got to enjoy that too.
When you put it that way, it feels like the same sort of concept as, well, I'll be happy when I retire.
Right.
And retirement and happiness looks like sitting on a beach, eating lobster, drinking Mai Tais, because that's all happiness. This thing of living in the suburbs where I live now, in the house that I am now, this can't be what happiness looks like.
Right.
If you define happiness in such narrow terms, it's no wonder you're going to be miserable with your day-to-day.
Right.
You have to be able to build a life in the here and now that you're comfortable with, in addition to working toward the next thing. And I think that's the key here. You have to be able to hold two complementary but very different ideas in your head at the same time. And we know, as humans, we are capable of this. When it's really freaky, we call it cognitive dissonance. But in this case, I'm talking about keep in on the one side, my life is okay. I am okay where I am. I know how I got here. I know why I'm here. I'm okay with that. I recognize that my weight isn't where I want it to be. I recognize that my income isn't where I want it to be, or that this isn't really the house that I want to live in for the rest of my life. There can be any number of things that we know that we don't quite want to be our forever. But we can stop and say, I'm mostly okay. I can handle this. Then on the other hand, we can have the ambition and we can say, for my future state, I imagine my house will be a certain way. My family will be a certain way. My income level will be higher. My vacations will look like this. And you can have that goal and you can have that future state in mind that you're working toward.
Right.
And if you can keep both those things together, that's where it's at. That's contentment in the here and now, while also working toward something for the future.
So the way I would correlate this is to making a cake. When you and so if you're a regular person and you have a regular job and stuff like that, and you decide that, you know what, I want to make a cake for so-and-so's birthday, a particular event in our family, whatever, I'm going to make a cake. When you go to make the cake, you're actually enjoying every part of it because you know what the end goal is. So you're enjoying it. You're enjoying putting the flour in. You're enjoying putting your eggs in, whipping it up. And then along the way, you're like, ooh, what can I do to this? Can I put a little bit of vanilla in there? Maybe some nutmeg, right? A dash of cinnamon or something of that nature. And you're thinking of all these different things you can do to enhance this cake. And you're like, ooh, and you're enjoying the process, right? And then you get it into the cake pan, put it in the oven, and you're like, ooh, I'm just waiting now. And you're testing it out, make sure it's good. Every part of the process you enjoy, and you're experimenting with it, and you're in the moment. Have you ever seen anyone with like, well, today we're gonna make a cake. You're throwing the eggs, and you're gonna stir it. Stupid.
Absolutely, I have.
I haven't.
Because this is a situation where if you're doing it because you have to do it,
right,
or you feel like you have to do it, it's not always a joy. It's not always a pleasure to do the have-tos. So its mindset is basically what I'm saying.
Sure. But in my sense, the case I'm trying to make is like, this is something that you're choosing to do. You're willing to do it. This is something that you decided to do. Not like I have to do it. Like I have to wash my clothes, right? Or I have to take the trash out, or I have to wash the dishes.
Well, or like it's my kid's birthday coming up and the party is going to suck if this cake doesn't get done, but I don't really have time because I have so many other things on my schedule and on my priority list that I really need to be doing.
Sure, but this goes back to mindfulness.
But I have to do this thing and I don't want to do it. And so it's just one more thing. Okay, let's get it over with as quickly as possible.
That goes back to what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about this mindset. So if the mindset is, I have to do these things, these horrible, terrible, nasty, waste of time things, in order to get these things done so I can eventually get to where I want to be, then yes, you're going to be miserable the entire time because of your mindset. But if the mindset is like, my kid is going to eat this cake and he's going to look over at me and says, did you have an angel make this cake? Because this is like the best cake on the planet and it has flavors I didn't even know it existed. It all depends. It's that mindset. And if the mindset is negative, in my opinion, in my experience, the food in this case reflects that mindset. You get a product that is so subpar and it does not taste good. It is cake only by pure definition, right? Not by any other stretch of the imagination.
I met a lady once. She and her husband had lived in Japan. He was a contractor for some, I don't even know what.
Okay.
But they had this like 5-year contract. Well, while they're there, they have 2 kids. And she's decided that this American family living in Japan, she's decided that she wants her kids to be able to have milk and cookies.
Okay.
Cow's milk in Japan is apparently not a normal thing, where most of the people are lactose intolerant, and the land mass or the land use for grazing cattle is not big. So it's really expensive to get a gallon of milk there. And I remember she said something about like the like wheat flour is also not common because rice is the main staple. So to be able to make chocolate chip cookies for her kids and serve it with a glass of milk took a huge investment of money relative to what it would cost if you were living in middle America. Well, she decided that this was something she wanted for her kid, an experience she wanted for her kids to have.
Okay.
So it stopped being about, oh, there's this huge expense. I can't believe we have to pay this much to get milk. I can't believe we have to flour and cookies and it became a joy. That this is a sacrifice of money that we're making because we want to have this outcome. I want to share this experience with my kids. Is it necessary? Probably not. Is it a choice that I'm making that I want to do? Yes, absolutely.
And she enjoyed every moment of it.
It changes the nature of the task when we view the task through that lens.
And it's hard for us to do on a regular. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. If I know that I have to do a particular thing that I don't particularly want to do, I'm not going to go into it with the best attitude and approach it in the best manner. It's just, that's human nature, for lack of a better term. It's just how we are. Anything that is not what we find convenient is going to be a pain in the butt.
But this is where another piece of human nature that we forget about is we are capable of molding and manipulating our circumstances.
Right. And we do that all the time.
One way of doing this now is to restate from I have to do this thing to I'm choosing to do this thing so that I can have this outcome. You're looking still on that future state, right? As being the goal and the happiness. But now reel it back in and say, in order to get that, I have to do this. Well, that means that I want to do this because I want to see the future state.
Right.
It changes the attitude surrounding it.
So taking it on that mentality, if we're looking in a video game kind of analogy here, like World of Warcraft. When you first start off, you're not top level. You don't have all the gear. You don't have all of the items that you're going to need to be able to fight the big baddie in the end of the game. You don't have any of that stuff. You have to work towards it. So when you go out to level your character, you're like, all right, I'm level 1. This is crap. Guess I got to go kill a couple of pigs in Goldshire. All right, level 2. This is crap. Or you're like, hey, wow, I'm level 2. Look, my intelligence went by so much. My strength went up by so much. And oh, now I can wear this particular piece of armor because now I have the ability to do so. Are you enjoying the travel along the way? And if you're doing all of the little things and whatnot like that, and this is coming from a gaming mentality. Some people are like, I got to get to that level as quick as possible. I don't care about side quests. I don't care about content. I don't care about all the little extra things and the bells and whistles that the developers do in the game.
Just speed run.
I just want to get to this level as quick as I can so I can start running this content. And then what? And then you complete that content, and there's not going to be new content for months, sometimes a year, depending. What are you going to do in that meantime? Nothing. You know why? Because you never learned how to enjoy to do any of the other things. And you never enjoyed it while you were having to do it because that was your mentality. I have to do this. I'm not going to do any of these other things. I'm just going to do the things that are going to give me the most XP to get me to the next level so I can get out of this zone and not deal with it anymore. Well, I play the game, and then I get all these like trinkets and toys and mounts and all these things. And then some of the other players, my son's friends, are like, where did you get that from? Oh, remember in this section where you had to do that? Yeah. Well, if you go do this thing, they send you over here, and then as a reward to doing these things, you get this cool mount. That's awesome. Yeah, you should do it. It's pretty easy. No, I don't want to spend my time doing that. But you liked it, right? Yeah, but that's effort. And I don't care about that. I just want to do end game content. I don't care about it. Okay, well then you're never enjoying your experience. You're not enjoying it at all, and you're not actually not even enjoying the game anymore because now that you've done the end game content, and now the only thing you have to look forward to is 6 months, a year down the road when they release the next expansion. You're not doing anything, and then the game is no longer fun for you because the only thing that was enjoying about it or that had enjoyment in it was you getting to that next level and getting to that top level doing that content, and now you're done.
To kind of take it down a peg, though, thinking about this in terms of a simpler game, okay?
Sure.
So for me, Sonic the Hedgehog comes to mind. So Sonic the Hedgehog, famously, he runs real fast, he grabs gold rings, right? That's about as much backstory as you really need. So if you're playing this game and you're Sonic and you're always reaching for that next gold ring, then you've always got that next one out there. You start the next level, you got to get to do what you got to do to get through the level with as many gold rings as you can, and then you've got to fight Dr. Robotnik. And that's it. And then you start another level. The scenery changes, but the process is the same.
Right.
Get the gold rings, get the power-ups, maybe you get some Chaos Emeralds or whatever, and then you're trying to fight Dr. Robotnik again, and then he runs away to the next zone. If you only ever are focused on that next confrontation or that next gold ring in front of you, you're missing all of the joy that you had and the fun that you had of getting there, all the little woodland creatures that you freed along the way, all of the Green Hill Zone fun that you had in level 1. And if you're only focused on the future in your real life, then you can miss the part about, oh yeah, I remember when my kids were like 2 or 3. That was awesome. And so maybe journal writing can help with that, to be able to write that down of like what your struggles were then and how, oh, lo and behold, you've grown past those struggles that you had.
Yep.
And pictures. Pictures are awesome, especially nowadays where you've got like automatic photo album montages. It's super cool. Like I love that my phone just does that because I can stop and say, oh yeah, I remember we took that trip. That was really fun.
Yeah.
And look back and really feel the joy from that helps me now in this moment to say, what can we do that's fun now?
Yeah.
Not just waiting for that next big thing, whether it's a big vacation or promotion or whatever, but to look at the current state and be like, all right, well, hey, I got this task to do at work. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Jump in. Not try to shy away from doing work because, well, I really just want to make my day as easy as possible and just kind of float through everything.
Right.
No, sure. Yeah, bring it on. Let me take it. What can I do?
And I'm going to be the most pleasant person that you've ever had to deal with. I want you to walk away from working with me and say like, man, that guy was a blast to work with. As much as a work can be a blast, right? But just be like, wow, he was helpful and he was thoughtful and he gave me some information and he taught me something and he explained things to me that made sense. That's great. I like this guy. That's awesome. And you enjoy the experience. Work doesn't have to be the 4-letter word as it's been described. It can be something that's fun and enjoyable. That doesn't make me a company guy. That just means like, look, I've chosen this path and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to enjoy the path that it takes me on because I know it leads to the end goal that I want to have. And that's a comfortable retirement, right? But that doesn't mean I have to be nasty or begrudge people that are interfering with I don't want to do the minimal job possible. I just want to get to the day and not have to deal with anyone if I can help it.
And that you can enjoy your evenings and weekends now, your holidays, your vacation time, whatever it is. Enjoy that now also.
Yeah.
Not just waiting for that retirement future state where things will be great, because then I'll have nobody telling me what to do.
Now, I'm not a pessimist by any stretch of the imagination, but my mind can take me there. And I can say like, we're retired. What are you going to do? I don't feel good. I'm going to sit in front of television and watch television. And not actually go live life, which happens. But, we all have our grand scheme of how we want things to happen. And we can just try our best to enjoy the process and then hopefully enjoy it when we get to that end goal.
Well, and as we've talked about before, effort. Learning to put in effort, learning to work and take action as a principle of your life.
Right.
Changes the nature of your attitude toward everything else.
And if we do want it to go forward in the direction that we want to do, that means that there is work and there is effort. And we have to be the catalyst if we want things to change. Now, talking about that, if we're in a situation where, okay, we're not happy with our current situation, we want to be somewhere down the road, some future set goal. All right, let's sit down and figure out what that is. How do we define that? And then how do we get there? And we've talked about this before. But knowing that change is going to be required and not have a negative attitude toward the change that needs to happen. That's a big part of it. Knowing that you're not going to be able to do the exact same things you've been doing before because that's how you're in your situation that you're in now. All right, so that means I have to do things different. Okay, that means I might have to sacrifice some things, but I might gain some things in the process. Okay, well, let me focus on that. Let me focus on the gains and not focus on the things that I'm going to have to lose or stop doing. Let me focus on the positive things that's going to get me to where I need to be and be the catalyst and make it happen. Because the only person that's going to be able to affect change in your life is yourself. No one's going to come along and say, here you go. Here's everything that you ever wanted right here for you. There you go. No effort on your end. Here it is. Wish came true. That doesn't happen.
So happiness can be defined in a lot of different ways. You've got to figure out what it's going to mean for you and what you're willing to do to get to that spot. Find ways to take joy and pleasure in your current state as well.
And if your current state isn't what you want it to be, change it. And realize that it's going to take effort, but be happy in the fact that knowing that you're the one that's making these changes come to be.
Thanks for joining us on WizNugs. We'll hope to see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. If you liked what you heard, spread the word. For more information, head over to mywiznugs.com.